All right. Hi. Good morning, Natalie. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing very well. I know we spoke on the phone, but I appreciate it so much that you were able to hop on Teams with me today. I'll just quickly introduce myself again. Britt Strackbine, Director of Operations for Woofie's in Ashburn. And today I just want to learn a little bit about you. I have some questions that I want to run through, but please know, we can go off on tangents, we can tell stories, whatever makes the most sense. I really want this to be a conversation where I can use this time and you can use this time to just tell me about you and your grooming career.
Awesome.
Okay, perfect. So Natalie, why don't you just tell me a little bit about your professional experience? I can look at your resume, of course, but I'd love to hear. Just tell me about how long you've been grooming professionally, and did you first start as a bather?
Yeah, so I first started as a bather at a kennel. I was there for about a year, and that's actually where I kind of discovered my love for grooming. I used to sit and kind of just stare and watch their groomer that they had. So I decided I think I really want to do this. So I found a school that was near me, and attended that. I was there for I think 6 months, and completed book and hands-on training. And then after that, I went into a salon, and then I've been grooming for about 5 years.
In a salon environment.
Yes.
How wonderful. Okay. Okay, wonderful. For 5 years. That's great. Now your training was 6 months. What school did you attend?
It's called the Academy of Pet Careers. It was in St. Louis, Missouri.
Wonderful. How was your time there?
It was amazing. I absolutely loved it. It was a lot of hands-on, so I was in there 4 days a week doing grooming with the other students. There was about two or three other students with me in my like little group. And we just got dogs and worked with them while our teacher was doing her own dogs and kind of working with us. And then 1 day a week, I went in and did safety and behavior and handling classes as well. So I have a certification in that too.
Oh, wonderful. That's I think it's wonderful to know the technical skills of grooming and the creative skills of grooming, the artistic skill that goes in. I find that all groomers have been in this industry for quite some time, and every groomer that I've ever encountered has this just natural creative touch to them. Those are the most successful ones that I've ever been around. And the other piece, the component that goes in it as well, is that safety component.
Mhm.
I'd love to learn a little bit about what that safety certificate, looked like, what kind of training you went through. Why don't you tell me a little bit about it?
Yeah, so it was conducted by a animal behaviorist. She had a doctorate in animal behavior. And so 1 day a week we would go in and we went through bookwork, and um, we would go over how to handle dogs, how to read body language, all this stuff. And then the place that I was at had a doggy daycare in it. So then we would go and observe daycare and have to kind of tell her how the dogs were responding with their body language. And then she had consults of her own that she would do for animal behavior, and we would sit in on those and kind of discuss while she was doing those.
Oh, wonderful. And what is the certificate actually in? Is it a certain amount of hours completion? What
Um,
is the certificate exactly?
I would have to look at it, but I'm fairly
Okay.
certain it just says animal behavior and handling
Wonderful.
certification.
That's great that they were actual an animal behaviorist. I
Hmm.
mean, truly probably were able to share some things. Anything that was like a standout for you about reading body language that has stuck with you over the years of being a groomer that you maybe even use daily?
Yeah, even with like my dogs and stuff, I have a pit bull, so sometimes they can sound like they're going crazy. But differentiating that sound of I'm just playing and I mean business, there's a difference to it. And if you don't know it, it's kind of hard to tell. But I'm glad that I do know that difference now, so I can understand this dog is just trying to like have a fun time, and this dog is not having a great time. It helps a lot.
Yeah, yeah, those high pitch squeals versus like happy barking.
Hmm.
I think about all of like our husky friends, right, that
Yes.
come in. And yeah, if you're not experienced in it, right, you might want to turn away that dog, and knowing the difference. And I think that's why safety is important to me and to us at Wolfies for so many different reasons. One of it is to keep you safe as the groomer, and to keep the dog safe as well. The one thing that I always like to talk about is being the advocate for the dog that's on the table. And if a dog is showing signs of sitting, right, what would you do in that, for instance? So have you ever had anything like that, where you had a dog that was trying to sit down, right, not just barking, but showing you that they didn't want to stand anymore?
Yes, that is I have a golden retriever too, and that's literally him. But yes, I have done multiple dogs that just don't want to sit or even stand during the appointment. I kind of just work with them as much as I can. Anything I can do while they're sitting or laying down, I'm gonna do. There's no reason to make them any more uncomfortable than they probably already are. So I just kind of work with them. And then if I once I get to the point where I have to hold them up, I use my hands, and like if I have a belly strap, I'll use that too, just to help them so that I'm not causing too much stress on them and I'm giving them some form of assistance. But usually I just try and kind of roll with what they kind of want to do until I have to move them around.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you ever had a situation where you did feel like you were causing too much stress? And what did you do to, what did you do in that situation?
Yeah, so I had a very elderly dog that I did, and he was partially blind, partially deaf, so he just was not having a great time. Very confused as to where he was, and I could just tell like this is a little much for this guy. So I did like half of his haircut, and then we kind of stopped. We sat down on the floor, we cuddled, we just chilled out for a minute. Um, Mom was still in the area, so we kind of like sat with mom for a minute just to reassure him mom's still around here, everything's good. And then we kind of went back to it. We did that a couple of times, just because he's older. I didn't want to put any stress on him that was unnecessary. And then we were able to get it done after doing those like nice little cool downs for him.
That's great. That's great that you watched his body language, offered some comfort with bringing mom in that situation, right? We all know that that's not
Yeah.
for every situation. Most of the
Yes.
time, we would not want mom to come in.
Yeah.
And then sometimes we do have to have that hard conversation with pet parents, that it's maybe best that we stop grooming.
Mm.
Fluffy, maybe Fluffy has had enough. Have you ever had situations like that in your years of experience?
Yeah, definitely. While I was working in a salon, I was also in a vet as well. So I did both. So I got the dogs that got turned away from groomers for those exact reasons. And myself, even in a vet, had to have those hard conversations of,
Yeah.
yeah, this dog is maybe a little bit stressed. Having the option to maybe try a CBD, or even if they're open to a medication just to help calm them down. Some dogs need it. But I've found that if we kind of take slower appointments, kind of like you would do with a puppy, and just like bring them in every now and again to get used to the environment, the sounds, and then they leave. And then they come in, and then maybe one day they get a bath. And that's it. And they just kind of like reacclimate them to the process. I've done that a few times. It's worked really well.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's something that we can definitely do for our more skittish friends that aren't in their senior years, but dogs that just don't love the environment. One of the things that we have at Wolfies that is such a great advocate for those types of dogs is the mobile units, right? We are a mobile grooming salon, and one of the things that we like to talk about is our way to service dogs that don't love those environments.
Mhm.
And I know that you've worked in a salon previously. What are your thoughts about mobile grooming, and what excites you about the opportunity to be a mobile groomer?
I really love the idea of it. And even just a vet or a salon, there's just so much going on all of the time. There's dogs consistently barking, there's people coming in all the time, phones ringing. So I'm very excited for just like a one-on-one, like very calm
Yeah.
experience, where I can spend more time with the dog, getting to know them, um, and be able to just do them all the way through and be with them to maybe lessen that anxiety, because I bet it probably is not as bad when there's not six dogs barking in the background and things are going everywhere. So I'm really excited for that.
Yeah, definitely a calmer environment. Is there anything that makes you nervous? Is there anything that you think might be a learning curve perhaps in a mobile environment?
Probably like obviously driving and would be a little bit interesting. But just kind of being alone. I've never 100% been alone. I've always had someone, like, if I had a question,
Mhm.
that I could reach out to and like, "Hey, how do I do this?" Or like, but I've also learned how to use YouTube and educational books and stuff that I have to get over those things. So I'm semi okay with being by myself, but that's just gonna be like a little learning curve of not having someone like right next to me to be able to help me like hold a dog if they're being
Yeah.
crazy for their nails or something.
Yeah, and that's a real concern, and I think if you said that you had no concerns, I would be more worried. So
Yeah.
everything that you just shared, totally normal concerns, but there's a couple things that we've put in place to combat it or support that. One of the things is you have an admin support team. So if you need to call in and ask any questions at all, you also have the digital version of all the groom notes. So anything that's taken place with that dog previously with us, with other groomers, you're able to have a digitized version. If there were any issues at all with anything with the van, right? Any component. So, say you're used to being in a salon environment, your dryer goes down, kind of the same thing in the van. Now, we are making sure that this equipment is state of the art, nicely maintained. We actually have, cleaners that go in and actually clean out of our vans daily. And we want to take care of the units that we have. However, things happen, right? Things could break. The thing is that we put you through a van training where you know how to troubleshoot. Again, the admin team can offer you support as well. And then because our vans are outfitted by Wagon Tails, there's QR codes kind of everywhere. So you reference YouTube, you like to use YouTube. I'm that way too. I love watching a video, fix the kitchen sink, right? Learned it on
Hmm.
YouTube. So you can actually scan the QR codes on different parts of the van and it will show you a video on how to troubleshoot that particular item.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that'll be really helpful.
Very helpful, right? Because you are out there on your own. And I definitely think it takes this sense of independence, but kind of hearing that you already leverage YouTube, um, it would be quite similar if you would run into any of those situations. One of the things I wanted, and I know we kind of skirted around it, Natalie, because I know you have years of experience. I saw your Instagram, your work, definitely looks fantastic. And after this interview, something that we like to do is we do a test room. So you could come in and do an actual test room in person. But if you have a little bit more time, I'd love to talk some more about technical skills.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. Some of the things that we can kind of measure is how long it takes you to safely groom some of our favorite friends, and some of our favorite friends are doodles. So, how long does it take you to groom a large doodle? And you can go through all the different scenarios that could be taking place.
Okay, so are we talking like over 40 pounds, probably like
Yeah, I would say
average
60.
doodle?
Let's imagine they're a burn a doodle.
Okay. So I would say if they have like if they're the perfect dog and they're just so fantastic, they have a great coat, probably like between an hour and a half. Just depending on what kind of like cut they're getting,
Maintenance.
and their behavior and everything. Now if they're like on the bigger side, if they have any like bad matting or if they have like a really thick coat, I would say my max time for any doodle would probably be 2 hours.
Mhm.
I think maybe one time I went 2.5, but this dog was like 100 pounds, and he had really thick coat. It wasn't matted. It was just really thick, so it took a very long time to dry and a very long time to brush through it. But that's probably the longest I've ever gone. Usually my average is about an hour and a half, though.
Okay, perfect. Any tips of the trade that you've picked up over the years to help with your time efficiencies? What are some things that you do as you're, getting that dog in and looking at, how can I tackle this 2-hour dog that I thought was only going to be an hour, hour and a half? What are
Hmm.
some things that you like to do to help you out with that?
So if the dog is getting a shorter cut, I always pre-shave them. It just cuts my time down when I'm blow drying. If they're getting a longer cut though, um, I do fluff drying. Sometimes it takes longer, but it makes the cutting process a lot faster. So I'm not having to like go back, brush a spot to try and get over it. The whole dog is completely prepped and ready to go. And then during the drying process, I don't know if you guys use this product, but it's called Quick Dry, and it
Yes, we do.
sprays. Oh, okay, perfect. Yes, it like cuts my drying time in half. I live by that stuff. Um, so I use that. That helps a lot. And then just the way I do my dogs, I feel like as my years have gone by, I've found my process that
Mhm.
has cut my time down. So I just work around the dog. So I complete a full side. I do the full leg, complete that, then go over full leg, and then I go to the other side and do that. It's cut my time down significantly doing that instead of kind of bouncing around. I know I've done absolutely everything. So yeah,
That's wonderful. That's good that you have a process in place and that you can tell that you've been able to cut down on some time, of course, without compromising the integrity of the groom.
mhm.
I've seen your work. I can tell that you do thorough work as well, and that's very important to us, right? We want to make sure that we're not a churn and burn operation. It's always quality over the quantity, but at the same time, we want to make sure that you're getting through dogs, right? If you were to say that you took 3.5 hours on a doodle, I think that you maybe haven't learned what those best practices are, but I mean, it absolutely sounds that you've been able to. One of the things that I wanted to mention that in our vans, right? So when you think about it, the table, and of course, when you come in for a test room, if you'd like to come in for a test room after this interview, the table is against the wall in the van, but it has a nice swivel to it. So you're still
Oh,
able
cool.
to work around the dog without having to move the groomer's helper, and moving the loop and disrupting the dog,
Yeah.
as they're standing on there. Kind of as we're still talking about technical, I know that we're focusing on dogs a lot. Did you have any experience with cats or any other animals?
I have slight experience with cats. I don't have any experience doing haircuts. I never learned that, but I do have experience doing like baths, brushing, and then nail trims. I've done that before. I've always had an assistant though while doing them. I've never done them solely by myself, but I do, yeah, have some slight experience.
And are you comfortable advertising yourself as a cat bathing services and brush out services without an assistant? Would that be something that you would explore taking on still?
Yeah, absolutely. If I had some time to like get my footing and kind of explore it maybe with a cat we know is like
Mhm.
pretty good, just to kind of get my bearings, especially in a different environment. But yeah, I think I could probably figure it out pretty quickly. So
Perfect, perfect. Um, Question about when you're finished to groom. What are some things that you look for as you're getting to the completion part? Kind of after you've finished your hand scissoring, and you've referenced hand scissoring, so I'm assuming you know how
mhm,
to do hand scissoring.
yeah.
Um, what do you do to kind of say, okay, this is complete? How can you tell?
So one thing that I always do is I will um take the blow dryer with the nozzle off on a low setting and just kind of go all over the dog to fluff it out, to see if there's any uneven spots and kind of tighten that in. I always go over the dog one more time with my clippers just to make sure nothing else is coming off. And then I always try and let them shake, so that their hair falls as naturally as possible. to get any of those loose hairs out. I kind of get them to, I always let them, usually in my salon, I'll let them off the table, kind of walk around for a minute and then pop them back up and see, okay, where is everything sitting now that they're naturally walking around? Everything's settled where it should be, so I can get anything that's loose.
Perfect. Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, blowing any loose hairs, say you used a guard, taking that same guard over, all things that we love to hear. After that groom is done, and you can talk about the check-in process as well, but could you tell me a little bit about what your check-in process is like? Imagine the client in our industry, in mobile, the client sometimes is home, the client is sometimes not home. Majority of the time, I would say in our community, the client is home. What does that check-in process look like for you? And then what does that reverse check process look like? What does that handoff look like as well?
Yeah, so when I check in, I do this at my current salon. I go and I feel over the dog head to toe, um, and kind of feeling if we have any matting, do we have any bumps, any injuries that I should know about. I'm asking these questions to mom and dad as well. If I have never seen the dog before, I kind of ask what kind of haircut are we looking for? Do you have a picture of a last groom that you like? I really like asking for a picture of their dog in a groom that they like, because if they show me some random picture, sometimes it's not the same coat type, so it's not going to look the same. So knowing kind of what they've liked in the past, if I've seen them before, just kind of reiterating, are we doing kind of the same haircut? Are we wanting to do something different today? But the biggest thing is hands-on, feeling everywhere, because last thing I want is bring the dog in ready to go, and now there's like matting everywhere. Now I have to call mom to say, hey, I might have to shave the dog. Is that okay? Instead of, I could have just asked her when she was standing right there. And then check out process would be, I check the dog over, bring them back to mom and dad. I always ask, how does everything look? Do you need me to fix anything? I promise you will not hurt my feelings, because I'm already there. So might as well, if there's any little thing that they want, maybe they wanted it a little bit shorter, or they wanted um, the ears like a little bit shorter or something, I can fix that pretty quickly. But I always try to make sure, how's everything look? And then try and make sure that they are set to reschedule. If they're not already, just reminding them to set an appointment. Sometimes I get booked up pretty quickly, so I just want them to know, make sure you book your appointment so we know we're getting in. Um, but yeah, that's kind of my process.
That's wonderful, and I love to hear about mentioning to the pet parent, right? You're not going to offend me. I'm here. I'm happy to help. That's the best thing that we can do, because we would hate to have to send you back out to correct that groom, and then ending it off with rebook. Fantastic, right? Hey, if you love Fluffy's cut today, to maintain this, and offering what that amount of time would be for Fluffy. But that's a wonderful process, Natalie. Thank you for walking me through all of that, and definitely important, right? It's not just the technical skill; it's also that conversational piece, that relationship that we're starting to build with these pet parents. And I will say, our pet parents are very loyal. They're very generous with their gratuities, and we offer wolf packs as well. And that's kind of our rebooking program. It's no additional cost to the pet parent, but kind of guaranteeing them to get on that schedule. We always try to book them with their first choice of a groomer as well.
Awesome.
So what are you looking for exactly? I know you had applied to the full-time position. Are you still looking for full-time?
Yes, I'm available Monday through Friday, usually between like 9 and 4, but I can go later some days. I just kind of have to have advance notice, but that's usually kind of the range.
Okay. Okay, perfect, perfect. And then when would you be available for an in-person test room?
I think possibly at the end of the week. I just have to
Great.
double check my schedule, but I'm fairly certain, like, I'm off on Friday, that I could
Okay.
come up and do something. Would I have to bring my own dog, or how would that
It's
situation
my
work?
preference. My preference is that you bring your own dog, because you know the dog. It's if not, we can always offer a complimentary groom. Typically, we offer it to maybe one of our employees, is what we like to do, rather than one of our clients. But yes, if you have a dog that you'd like to bring, I normally like to see like a Shih Tzu, a Yorkie. I don't want you to have to do anything advanced, but if you feel comfortable with like a Bichon, that would be an option as well. Or if you have anybody in your life that you'd like to bring along with you, you're more than welcome to do so. Do you think you have somebody in mind?
Yeah.
Perfect.
I have a Shih Tzu client that probably would be open to
Oh,
it. So
great. Okay, wonderful, great. And as long as they have 6 weeks of grow out, then that would be the perfect dog.
okay, yeah. I think they're
Perfect.
like right up to getting their haircut, and they usually go every 8 weeks. So
Awesome.
perfect.
Perfect. Okay, great. Plenty of growth. That's fantastic. And then just another question here. Any other opportunities? I know when we're kind of job searching, we're looking for finding that right place. Do you have any other pending opportunities out there? And if you were offered a position with us, when would you be able to start?
Currently no, I don't, but I would say about 2 weeks. Usually I like to give my
Mhm.
current job notice. But yeah, about 2 weeks.
Okay, okay, perfect. Well, Natalie, it's been a pleasure having a conversation with you today. I don't want to have to follow up with you. I can let you know right now that I'd love to invite you in for that test room. So if you want to take a look at your schedule, give me a call maybe later today if you're able to.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
that's wonderful. And just let me know that Friday works for you since you'll be bringing your own dog. Just, you let me know a couple times that'll work. I'll be in the office between 7 and 4. So you just let me know what works, and we'll see you in person on Friday.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Natalie. I appreciate the time. And if you have any questions, I know we have a little bit more time on this call. Anything else we can talk about now, or we can talk about in person? That's your preference.
I just have one question.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any like continuing education opportunities or anything like that that you guys offer?
We do, absolutely. So we have a grooming school. We use Paragon, if you're familiar with Paragon at
Mhm.
all. So we have many folks that work for us today as groomers, and they went through level 1 and level 2. But we also have the ability to put you through level 3 as well. So that exists. But that's something that we want to continue to offer. Whereas if we could have a master groomer come in, we do have a grooming instructor. She does have show grooming experience as well. She's been a groomer for 10 years, and she's our grooming instructor for our Paragon school. So she has the ability to teach classes to our current groomers as well. And if there's enough interest between all of the groomers, it's something that we always like to offer and extend. So whether it's creative grooming, right, something very fun, or if it's an Asian fusion class or breed specific, she can offer those services as well.
Awesome. That sounds
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, wonderful. And I'm sure that you'll have some more questions. I want to make sure that we'll have time to go over more, and we can make sure that we allow some time after your groom on Friday to continue the conversation.
Yeah,
Right,
absolutely.
perfect.
I should have time all day Friday, so that's great.
Okay, awesome. Okay, great, Natalie. Thank you so much again for the time, and we'll be speaking soon.
Yes, thank you. It was really nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you as well. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. I leave it, or is she gonna get back on it?